And when it talks about privatisation, it's not just about handing the privateers our services, but it's about handing power to big business as well. You see, when companies are municipally run, like the NTA or other companies, then you elect people in the vicinity to run those services for you, and they become accountable to the services they run. But once you hand the services to the privateers, you hand over all of the running and the power to those small group of countries. So hence the reason why this nonsense was taking place in BP in Louisiana about is it a British problem or whatever. What Obama should really have done, and this is me as a British person talking, and I don't get all this Union Jack around me, what Obama should have turned around and said, exactly the same as what Chavez said in Venezuela, we're taking you off those rigs, and it's going to be an American nationalised industry, developing oil for people in this vicinity. Because the reality is this at the end of the day. Never mind about the billions of pounds of loss. What about the loss of the 14 people that died on the rigs? That's not being mentioned. Or how their families had to sign a concordat that they would not tell anything about what happened to those people concerned. What about the environmental damage? No, it's about one thing and one thing only. Money. And if it makes a profit, it's good. If it doesn't, they couldn't care less. Look at our own industries in Britain. We had a nationalised electricity board. We had a nationalised water board. And we had a nationalised gas board. All companies running as a nationalised industry. And if there was a profit at the end of the year, it got put back into society. And if there wasn't a profit in the end of the year, we had to subsidise that society. And what took place was, this is at me at home, one evening, got a knock on the door, God's honest truth, and it's the electric man, bloke standing there with a clipboard. He said, Mr. Crowe, he said, I've come round to sell you gas. I said, I thought you're the electricity board man. He said, I am. But he said, we can sell gas now. Electric companies are allowed to sell gas. I said, no thanks, I'd rather have me gas run by the gas board and electric by the electric board. Next night, God's honest truth, there's the gas man. He's flogging electric, this bloke. I said, what you come round here for? He said, I'm flogging electric. I said, strange, last night the electric man flogging gas and now you're flogging electric. He said, well, he said, I can save you a few quid if you sign a form here. I said, no thank you. Anyway, not the next night, there was no knocks on the door, but the night after that, there's a knock on the door, and this will stump it all. It's the waterman now. He's turned up. And he said, I've come to flog electric, Mr. Crowe, to you. I said, well, why are you flogging electric? Sign this form, he said, and I can get it cheaper for you. Now, when I went to school, I was told that water and electricity didn't mix. Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly mixes when they make profits, these people. So hence, brothers and sisters, I just want to put a couple of points, in my opinion, right. No disrespect to Frank's speech and other people that's been up this morning. The European Union is not some bastion of help for working people. It's completely opposite. You see, the European Union is a product to stop socialism spreading. That's what it's set up for. And when people say, oh, you're anti-European, so that means you don't like the French and you don't like the Portuguese, it's absolute rubbish. In fact, the European Union is completely against working people coming together. I sit in this room here today, and I couldn't care less, basically. You know, your nationality is purely an accident of birth. Wherever you're born, that's your nationality. And the reality is, why are we all Southerns want to fence ourselves in Europe? Surely our motto is, workers of the world unite. So we should be appealing to our Brazilian comrades, and our Venezuelan comrades, and our Vietnamese comrades. It makes no difference. However, there's two classes. Either you support the bosses class, or you support the working class. But the European Union, by the way, our trade union movement in Britain was completely opposed to it to 1990. And all of a sudden, we was told, because the history of it was this, was forever the faults of the Soviet Union in the eastern countries, and there were faults, like there's faults in my country, and like there's faults in this country. What happened was that the welfare benefits in Eastern Europe were far superior than what other countries were getting in Europe. Pensions, holidays, and so on. And as a result of it, after the war, they were so petrified that what they'd done, they started giving concessions to workers. Pensions and holidays. And they started setting up what was called works councils. Now some people, works councils might think they're okay. I'm totally opposed to works councils. Because what work councils are, is where non-elected trade unionists get elected to sit on a board and basically undermine what the official trade union does. That's what a works council does. And they set these works councils up because they was petrified that shop stewards with a socialist tradition would come in and take control of those committees. And as a result of that, concessions were given. Now, of course, when the wall was torn down and the Soviet Union collapsed, there was no necessity to give those concessions anymore. And hence the reason why there needs to be a rebalance as far as the multinationals are concerned. On all of those gains that was given, they now want to take them all back. Now, I actually thought when I went to start work on the railways in 1977 that you just naturally got holidays, and you naturally got pensions, and you naturally got sick pay, and you naturally got train passes and one thing. I just actually thought you got it. I didn't realise that the National Health Service was only something like 33, 34 years old when I started work. How did it come about? It came about in Britain because people had said in 1939 to 1945, and this is my father, by the way, my father in 1939, a casual docker, out of work for 2 years, was told he was going to be called up for the war. My father said, I'm not going to war. Hitler can come over here as far as he's concerned. That's what my dad said. I haven't got a job, haven't got a house, so let Hitler come over, it might be better off. My grandfather was a bit more knowledgeable, a Royal Fusilier in the First World War. Dragged him down to the army sign-off point, put him into the army, and he'd done 6 years in the 8th Army and didn't want to come out at the end of it because he'd never been out of London all his life and spent most of his life around the Mediterranean. But when he come back, and by the way, his younger brother, forced his age at 17 years of age, went through the war and was shot dead 6 days after the war ended in Rangoon. And when the war finished, those people who come back said, we're not putting up with this anymore. We want a house, and we want a job, and we're not going to have a situation where a kid's ill that you can't afford to take him down to the doctors. Poverty has got to end. And the first Minister of Health was a mine worker, and they're in Devon. And the Transport Minister was a truck driver. And they said, we're not having this. And they built a society. So when they sat down with the bosses after World War II, and these flash-looking people with nice suits come in and said, we're going to do this, that, and the other, I used to say to my dad, ain't you frightened of those people, Dad? Them bankers and them investors? He said, look here, son. He said, we've just fought fascism in 39 to 45. We've got rid of Hitler. He said, don't think that some banker walking in talking to me is going to frighten me now after what we've been through. So they changed society. And they understood that there was a definition between the society that they wanted and the society that they needed in the future. And all those gains now are going to be taken off.